Well, good evening YouTube and welcome to another episode of the Albino Rhino Beer Review, and today we are drinking a beer from the Big Rig Brewery in Ottawa, Ontario. The Big Rig Brewery, partially owned by Chris Big Rig Phillips, formerly of the Ottawa Senators, formerly assistant captain or alternate captain or whatever the A stands for. I always thought assistant. I've been watching hockey since I was 4, and I don't even know. It's the one thing I don't know. I don't even know enough to know I don't know. Anyway, this one is called Salute 1179. And Salute 1179 is saluting his 1,179 games he played in the NHL before retiring due to back problems. I'm going to put this out there. Chris Phillips was one of the best stay-at-home defensemen out there. Not only because he was playing for the team I enjoyed, but he did really well. He had some gaffes in his career, like when he scored on his own net in the playoffs. There's been a lot of gaffes, but a lot of players have had gaffes. He didn't put up points like some stay-at-home defensemen. He was just a solid man on the back end. And I am one of the fans that actually wanted him traded at times, because I figured near the end of his career, I figured we had a lot of young guys coming up. This is 4% alcohol, by the way. We had a lot of young guys coming up. I'm doing that. The Ottawa Senators had a lot of young guys coming up, and he was taking a roster spot, and he could really have helped the team if he was traded. And I know that management and him were all about keeping him in the Ottawa area and everything else, and I do appreciate that, because one thing is we got the Big Rig Brewery out of it. And I'm one of the fans that wasn't really hating on him. It's just I want a player to do what's best for the team. And if the team doesn't look like it's going to be a playoff contender right now, trade your older guys and get something for them. So I do know there was a news article out there about him actually brewing his first batch of beer at the brewery. And I think this may have been it, or this might just be Lauren's salute to him. Lauren and the guys. But yeah, regardless, we put it in the Rickards Red Movember glass just for shits and giggles. There's a shitty mustache that kind of just looks like a sheared shit on there, and there's the thing. Basically, I don't have a Big Rig glass, and it's just a 4% alcohol lager. It can just go in a regular beer glass. Okay. Now, what I was expecting scent-wise was basically a macro lager. What I got, at least out of the can, I'll give the glass a sniff in a second. But out of the can is a low-end macro lager. Yeah, low-end macro lager, the kind that comes off, slightly metallic, slightly what's the best? Dog poop. That slight little tinge of dog poop in there. So metallic and dog shit is what I get out of the can. And I'm not saying, oh my god, it's like I just stuck my head in dog shit. But you know when you come home from work, say you have a dog, and you're house training him, and you put him in the kitchen, or you put him wherever he's supposed to be, and you come home, and you open that door, and you step in that door. That first waft of air that hits you, that's the soaked newspapers, the dog piss soaked newspapers and dog shit smell. Just a tinge of that right in the nose. I've gotten that on a lot of lower end budget beers. I don't know what causes that smell. I've never been able to figure it out, but I do get it on a lot of smells, on a lot of beers. And a lot of them are still okay beers, it's just the scent turns me off. Out of the glass. Okay, it's really just the can. Out of the glass, I just kind of get a little bit of sweetness, just a tiny touch of sweetness out of the glass. So when it has a room to air out and all that, you just get a tiny bit of sweetness, but like, so don't sniff it out of the can. Basically, don't sniff it out of the can. It's okay. Who wants to put their nose up into a can anyway, right? It's all good. Let's try the beer. Cheers. Is the beer for me? No. Can I see this beer having a reason to exist in my life, in my rotation of beers? Sure. Does this beer disappoint me? Not at all. It's exactly what I would have expected out of a salute to Chris Phillips' career at 4% alcohol. It is, and what it is the type of beer you'd expect to be drinking after your hockey game if you're in beer league. You're a beer league hockey player. You just got off the ice. You go to the restaurant that sponsors your team. This is exactly the type of beer you'd be slurping back with your buddies. Most beer league teams, I've played in a beer league once or twice. Most beer league teams, you're drinking macro stuff and you're just guzzling it back afterwards. And that's the type of beer this is. Just a guzzler. A hot day, make it super cold guzzler. And it's not super cold right now. It's basement temperature. There's no faults in the beer. There's no adverse flavors. There's no offensive flavors. It's just a beer. It's just a B-E-E-R beer. It's a beer. And I mean, you can't be mad at that. Slightest sweetness from cereal grains. Then like a dead neutral breadiness all the way to the end, where there's a tiny touch of dirty, earthy hops that leaves a little tiny bit of resiny bitterness on the back of the palate, and then nothing. Super light mouthfeel, super light palate, super easy to drink, very small carbonation. Stuff just flies down your throat. Excuse me. Tasteless enough that it could replace Coors Light on your taps. Flavorful enough that you could be a craft beer head and still get some flavor off of it. So it's a win-win that way. I know when they first opened, I don't know if it's still true there now, but I know when they first opened, Lauren had Coors Light there. And he loved rubbing into the faces of everybody that he sold his beer more than Coors Light. And if you were going to a craft beer bar, or you were a craft beer guy, and you wanted to share pictures with your buddies, this is a craft beer you could actually buy pictures of. You could do the table keg, where you sit at the table and they hook a keg up to your table, and they charge you by the amount of glasses you drank. You could table keg this beer with no problems at all. And this could be the beer on the table, and everybody would drink it. In all honesty, I wonder how much a table keg would cost. Because I think for my next birthday, I might want to go to Ottawa, to Big Rig, and do a table keg with my buddies. And just record us drinking the table keg the entire night. Just put the camera on us and record ourselves doing the table keg until it's dry. Yeah. Out of 10 on this, a 7.25. I could see myself buying this to share it with my father-in-law or anything like that. It's a fine beer. It's just not something I could see myself buying all the time. Thank you, guys. Salute. 1179. And Chris Phillips, thank you for being the great hockey player you were. Thank you for being the great gentleman you were the few times I met you, and you probably don't remember me, but how you forget a 300-pound albino, I don't know. And thank you for bringing a great brewery to the Ottawa area, and thank you for all the years that you gave the Ottawa Senators, and all the fun you gave me watching you crush people. And yeah. Also, thank you for making me break a glass when you scored on our own net in the playoffs. I threw that glass across the room. You know what? I think you owe me a beer glass, sir. I think you owe me a beer glass. You come to Niagara Falls, me and you can sit down here and drink a beer, have a little interview about your brewery. I'll give you one of my beer glasses, you give me one of yours. Be a good time. I think you'll ever watch this. Bye, guys.